Hi, it's James Taylor from Speakers U, and in today's episode of The Speaker's Life, I'm going to be talking about the effect of the coronavirus in the speaking industry and how to survive a crash in the speaking business. Enjoy this episode. So if you ask any professional speaker who has been speaking in the business for a while, they'll tell you stories of what it's like when an economy crashes or suddenly all the speaking gigs dry up. It happened in the USA in 2001, 2008, in Asia in 1997, and actually it's happening again recently because of the coronavirus. I'm hearing of lots of stories from other speakers and also speaker bureaus of events being cancelled or postponed because either people can't travel to them or they're just worried about attendance because of the issues with the virus as it's starting to spread. So how can you ensure that your speaking career can survive when the economy takes a tumble or when things like this happen? Sometimes we refer to these as black swans. So how can you survive a crash in the speaking business? One way is by becoming what I call an all-weather keynote speaker. Let me describe how that means. I know in building my own speaking career, I wanted to ensure that it could weather any economic storm. It was really about avoiding the feast to famine that many speakers experience. And to do this, I actually borrowed an idea that I first discovered while studying financial strategy for my MBA, my master's. And it's called the all-weather portfolio. This strategy was devised by legendary investor Ray Dalio. Now, Ray Dalio is the founder of Bridgewater Associates, the world's biggest hedge fund with $190 billion under management. He's personally given over $750 million to philanthropic causes. And Dalio first described his all-weather portfolio, which is a diversified asset mix of investments, in Tony Robbins' book, Money Masters the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom, and more recently in his own book called Principles, which I highly recommend. Now, here's how the all-weather portfolio works. Then I'm going to describe how it can be applied to building a speaking career that can survive and thrive during any economic climate. This is what the all-weather portfolio looks like as it relates to investing. It's designed to weather any financial season, from a bull market to a bear market, recession to the booming economy that we've been having recently. So an all-weather portfolio will have this diversified fund. You might have like 30% in stocks, about 40% in long-term bonds, 15% in intermediate-term bonds, about 7.5% in commodities, and the remainder in gold. And this asset allocation, you'll notice kind of 3 things about it. First of all, it really minimizes risk by holding a low amount of stocks as stocks typically have higher volatility. It has a large amount of what we call boring bonds, that counter the risk of the stocks and really looks to the long term. And it does have a certain amount of highly volatile assets like gold and commodities, as they do well during periods of high inflation. You notice gold is doing very well just now where we're going through this coronavirus because it's a safe haven for money. Now, so what does this have to do with speaking? Well, if you think about it, most professional speakers make the majority of their income from the relatively high-risk, high-reward activity of giving keynote speeches. A good keynote speaker might earn $30,000 per speech and give 50 to 100 speeches a year. But when an economy crashes, 2 things happen. Firstly, companies try to save cash by reducing the number of events, conferences, and exhibitions they organize. Secondly, that great speaker that could previously make $20,000 for a speech now has to accept $5,000 or $10,000. Classic supply and demand, and lots of speakers with plenty of blank white space on their calendars. Now, what we're seeing at the moment is I'm talking with lots of different bureaus. We're seeing lots of events getting cancelled because of the coronavirus. And as a result, speakers are really having to, unless they have significant other revenue streams, they're in some trouble. And it's usually at times like these that speakers suddenly have to figure out how to generate these new revenue streams from things like online courses, continuity and membership programs, books, consulting, and coaching. Online courses, continuity programs, and books are all medium to long-term plays, as they take a while to create and start to produce income. Consulting and coaching can generate cash quickly, but like speaking, they can alternate from feast to famine. So what would a smart speaker do? One strategy I've been experimenting with is to think of your time like Ray Dalio thinks about his money. This means allocating your time over a range of activities which have different levels of risk, rewards, and timelines. So if you're a classic speaker, author, coach, then you could allocate your time something along this line. So you would put about 40% of your time into creating and selling continuity style programs. That's something that has either a membership or it has a subscription, a little bit like Netflix, but something that has an income that's coming in all the time. Then 30% of your time in your speaking, perhaps the core of your business, but kind of you're actually putting a little bit more into building those longer term assets. 15% into products, which could be books, for example. Online courses would be an example of that. 7.5% into consulting and coaching, and then 7.5% into just kind of other things, other interesting types of revenue streams. So let me just repeat that. So 40% into continuity programs. These are the equivalent of long-term, low-risk bonds. 30% into speaking. This is the equivalent of high-risk stocks. 15% of your time into products. So that's creating your books and online courses. That's the equivalent of intermediate-term bonds. 7.5% into coaching and consulting. This is the equivalent of highly volatile, but often very profitable, things like gold, for example. 7.5% into just other. So these could be joint ventures, partnerships, highly experimental projects that are similar to commodities. Now let's imagine if you look to build revenue streams from all 5 of these categories: continuity, speaking, products, consulting and coaching, and other. When the economy is booming, like it is in the US just now, then you're reaping the rewards for plentiful and highly paid speaking engagements, while at the same time taking that cash and investing it into your long-term strategy, lower risk categories such as building your membership program or creating that online course. Then when the economy crashes, as it will inevitably do, you can keep your speaking fees high because you have enough income being generated from continuity programs, royalties, and other product sales. So basically, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining. I recognize that what I've described is not particularly glamorous. It is, however, strategic and intended for those speakers who want to have a long-term career and be able to make decisions from a position of power and strength. So here is what you can do next to become an all-weather speaker. Start investing time in building a membership, continuity, or subscription program. It could be a $50 a month continuity program like Michael Hyatt's Platform University, or some of the higher price ones that I'm involved in. Secondly, commit to writing every day and publishing at least one book per year, or putting out one piece of significant content product every year. Think of this book as, or even an online course, as a type of retirement account where you consistently add intellectual property and then at a certain point in time start withdrawing cash from it. And then thirdly, automate the marketing and the selling of your speaking programs so you can become more efficient with your time, because time is money. That's what my team and I teach to professional speakers at Speakers U. So if you're interested in learning about either how to create some of those continuity membership subscription programs, or you're wanting to learn about creating things like online courses, for example, or you're wanting to start booking those and automating the marketing and selling of your speaking gigs and booking more speaking gigs and being more efficient with your time, then I highly suggest you check out becoming a member of Speakers U. We have courses within that, and I actually coach one-on-one all the members within there to help them create that kind of all-weather strategy for their speaking career. My name's James Taylor. Thanks for listening.